Good morning, True Tent. Good morning, my loves. Oh boy, I'm excited for this. Welcome to the not challenge, Imbolc training. I'm psyched. Let's dive in. So Imbolc, let me get actually my workstation all set up here. Let's do that first, shall we? We shall. Say hello as you hop on, my loves. Great. I have everything right here, so we're good to go. Imbolc is a really sacred time. And oh gosh, so recently, at the time of this recording, good morning, Victoria. In 2021, we were talking about how cool it is, and whether you are watching this for this coming Imbolc, hi Eva, or a future Imbolc, I want to bring up this conversation of recognizing that these Sabbats are so important, obviously. Learning about, celebrating, trusting, feeling into the divine feminine wisdom that we get to participate with during these Sabbats is so life-changing and amazing and cool and all the things. But what's even cooler is to remember that you're also living life right alongside the dates of these Sabbats on the wheel of the year. And I mean, whether it's this year or future years, all of this, thank you. I love these earrings so much. There's actually little moons on them. Can't catch the light very well. Moons. They're awesome. I actually got them because I thought that I would wear them during my photo shoot this past summer. I didn't end up wearing them. I'll wear them for a future one. But thank you, my love. So it is so cool to think about how the Wheel of the Year has these ancient tradition and celebrations built into it. But you know what also, like, we have built into the year? Dates and traditions that matter to us. So it's going to be really cool to see what important dates pop up for you around the different Sabbats and how you can really attune to and feel into the energy that is associated with each one. So Imbolc is the first calendar year Sabbat. It is the first light in the dark winter. The word that comes to me is stirring. Like there's a stirring. Like we're still in winter here, but we can feel the world ready to come alive again. The earth is awakening. This is it's a sacred time of like that first little stirring within us. And Imbolc happens on February 2nd. Last year, at the time of this recording, so in 2020, I was feeling the stirring. It was the final preparation before Nathan was born. And this feels so sacred to me. And as we go along, I'm gonna share and explain why. But it feels so sacred that of course, Nathan was born when he was born on February 22nd, because I actually experienced Imbolc in my own personal way without even knowing about it. So that it's so cool to see what's going to come up for you all during your own participation and transformation throughout the Wheel of the Year. So without further ado, let's dive in. I'm going to be working off of two different notes that I took, but most of them are combined anyway. So Imbolc is a February, sorry if this is a little bit fuzzy. Not sure why. Hi. Imbolc happens on February 2nd each year. And also what happens on February 2nd is Groundhog Day for us. We'll get into that. So I think it's so cool as I learn about each of the different Sabbats, how much our modern day holidays really borrowed from the tradition that is the divine feminine, witchy, goddessy traditions that these Sabbats really entail. So this is when the earth is awakening. The Christian tradition of Candlemas is also based on this as well. This is the quickening of light and life. This is the first sprouting of leaves. This is the celebration of the successful passing of winter and the beginning of the agricultural year. So in many places and spaces, they are starting to break ground. They are starting to think about the seeds that will be planted because winter is, like I said, not quite behind us, but like we made it through most of it. This is also, I want to make sure that I'm combining these here. As the wheel turns from winter, I just love the imagery of this. As the wheel of the year, as the wheel turns from winter to spring, the first stirrings of life are felt. This is where dreams that were conceived on the winter solstice start to take root. And can't you just picture that? Like winter solstice, first night of winter, we were going inward. We were pulling up the blankie so that we could start to dream again. We had the space to dream. We had the rest and the opportunity to dream. And now in this first stirring where we are starting to leave winter behind, the days are starting to get longer. We can feel the roots that have been really drinking in all the water from the soil to start producing a plant again. We can feel those dreams really, like the roots are there now. It's just so exciting and so miraculous, really, to think about. Imbolc is a time of rebirth, healing, and new beginnings. Those words feel really, when I read them, I was like, oh. And a reminder, I pull these trainings from Lisa Lister's Witch, as well as Sabbats by Edane McCoy, and The Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Wheel of the Year by Judy Ann Knock, which I've shared in other videos as well. But rebirth, healing, and beginnings. The goddess associated with Imbolc is Brigid, Brighid, in one of the texts. I mean, you'll find a bazillion different spellings of that name, but Brigid is actually a triple goddess. She represents, in many different cultures, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And in this conversation about Brigid, there's a lot of maiden. There's a lot of new beginnings and innocence and starting again. Remember that the crone is in charge of winter. She's in charge of that final rest and laying it down, remembering that we never fully die, we rebirth ourselves. Victoria, that's so funny that you say that, dreaming of our future garden. Exactly. And this year in 2021, I am going to create my very first my soul all in it garden. We've tried other gardens in the past and my soul just wasn't in it, and I knew it, but we tried it. But this year I just feel differently about it, and so I'm so excited to start participating in the creation of a garden, starting with Imbolc and really letting the roots of what I want and the desire that I have, and knowing the deeper meaning as to why, really start to germinate, for lack of better words. So Brigid is the goddess of poetry and arcane learning. She's one of the Celtic deities. She is worship of her is very widespread, and we can see there is Saint Bridget. Brigid, the archetype of her, shows up in multiple places and spaces. She is a well-known, well-respected, and well-worshipped goddess. And it's interesting because the lines between goddess and saint started to blur, and Imbolc is is celebrated as Candlemas in honor of Saint Brigid. So there's a lot of beautiful blending that happens here, where the goddess remains, and different religions try to represent her in different ways, but the essence of the goddess Brigid remains. She is the daughter of I can't say this correctly. Dagda, Dagda, who is the Celtic god of fertility and land, right? And so Brigid, who is the goddess of poetry and new beginnings and learning, she's also the goddess of smithcraft and midwifery. So lots of like, if you can make it with your hands, Brigid rules it. Isn't that really cool? And like, think about that, like from catching a baby to pounding tools into form so that they can be used in the soil, to crafting a poem, Brigid rules it all. And it's that maiden touch of we can do it. We can create this. And in fact, we must create it. We must get our hands in the clay, and we must start with something. We must use our hands to begin forming the thing that we want to turn into a thing, right? So I just think that it's so beautiful to honor that in her. Let's see. It's the welcome. Imbolc is welcoming the goddess who has been renewed in winter and reborn as the flower maiden. Light flame, we light flames, so lots of candles, crazy amounts of so get some candles for our celebration. We light candles and we light flames, we light fires, whether it's a bonfire or a fire in our hearth, and that's what they did, is they lit huge bonfires in the past to celebrate Imbolc. But even a candle is so powerful to honor the maiden. It's about illumination and inspiration, and what was born at the solstice begins to manifest now. So when you see that flame come to fruition, you remember that, like, all this work has gone into the manifestation of the flame itself, and we're illuminating it now. We nurture our resolutions during this time, and we perform over again. We commit to, we reconnect to what we committed to at Yule and starting off our calendar year. And at Imbolc, we get to like re-nurture it and bring it back to life. So I mean, that can oftentimes you'll see at the end of January, beginning of February, people saying, how's your resolution going? Right? Because we set these grandiose resolutions in modern day society that maybe don't have such a deep, yes, Victoria, you can relate to her. I see a lot of Bridget in you. We set deep, we set these grandiose goals, but what we are being asked at Imbolc is like, and for what? Like, what do you actually want here? Because that which you want is taking root. So let's really focus on it and reharness the energy for it. So, perfect. Let me see. Oh, this was interesting. Circometry, I think I'm saying that correctly, is the psychic skill that helps you pick up on characteristics from inanimate objects. So if you hold an object in your left hand, colors may show up, information may show up about the person who created the thing. So Imbolc is an amazing time to practice circometry. It's kind of an aside, but I thought it was a really cool thing to even think about. So look at this amazing candle, Call Your Coven. Awesome. So if I grabbed this in my left hand and got quiet with it during this time where our roots are really grounding into the soil right now, we know what our dreams are. We can take an inanimate object and we can try to connect with the creator of it, connect with the deeper energy story of it. I thought that was super cool. And I like how it said colors may show up for you. And the more and more you try with different things, you can really test and hone your skill as applying colors to energy, which is a beautiful segue into, this is the welcoming of the sun at Imbolc. This is a time of initiation. This is another thing that you can do to celebrate Imbolc is turn on every light in your house. And if you want to, you can walk in the snow barefoot. Maybe you try it this year. And trace an image of the sun into the snow. So I thought that was super cool. I'm going to leave the rest of this one for the end. This is a perfect segue into here so we can kind of get into some stuff. But the festival of Imbolc, because remember, we usually have different days to celebrate these Sabbats, and we in the True Tent will pick the day that feels the best, and based on the calendar and what else is going on. like on Samhain last year, we didn't celebrate on actual Halloween. We celebrated the day before to honor family time. But it's usually a festival, so it spans a few days. So the Festival of Imbolc begins on February Eve, so January 31st, and ends on February 2nd. And February 2nd is the more traditional day of Imbolc itself. So that's the day that we will be celebrating now in 2021, and keep your eyes peeled for whatever year you're watching this in on when we're going to celebrate it this year. There are three major associations with this Sabbath. So now we're going to kind of get into like some really cool, like you might want to take notes of this. Number one is the veneration of fire and water, which I think is so cool. Myself, with my own sun, moon, and rising signs, I am fire and water. And so I love the connection of those two things. But even if you are not those elements within your signs, I mean, think about it. Fire and water are each other's harmony. And so as we kick off this Sabbath, as we kick off this year, we get to do so honoring the harmony of it and recognizing that there is important pieces to all of the above. So number one, the veneration of fire and water. Number two, the quickening of new life in the womb. So for me with Nathan, like the quickening, like I was 8.5, 9 months pregnant at this point in 2020. And then the lactation of ewes. So the lactation of ewes, obviously, sheep and lambs, when a ewe is lactating, it directly represents that there are babies to feed, which is a complete representation that there's life, and also there's cheese and milk and butter. So life giving sustenance to the people in ancient times. So let's talk about fire for a minute. Fire is the midpoint. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Okay, this fire, hold on, reeling back. Let's start here. Imbolc is one of the fire festivals. So we know that we've got seasonal festivals and fire festivals within the wheel of the year. Imbolc does not mark the turning of a season. It's the midpoint between winter and spring. So we're halfway there. We're halfway into spring really stepping in her full beauty. So this is the first light. The lighting of candles is symbolic of purification, inspiration, and the growing light. It's sympathetic magic to call the sun, to like lure the sun, like keep going, keep coming, we need you. It's also a representation of smithcraft. Like I said, Bridget is the goddess of smithcraft. Forging the fires, and that's transformation, right? Taking a hunk of metal, throwing it into the fire to melt it so that you can forge it into a tool or something that's useful to you. That is ultimate transformation right there. And that's what fire is symbolic in all of us as. You've got the opportunity here to transform. You do not have to be the same person that you were last year. In fact, you're not. You're already not. You are the wisest version of you now and will continue to grow in that wisdom. And now you're just participating in it with a deeper consciousness level, which is just so sacred. Now, let's talk about water. Water represents the veil. During Imbolc, back in ancient tradition, processions to Bridget's sacred wells were part of the celebration of the day. The sacred wells are representation of life, and they were always adorned with greenery, representing the spring that's on its way. Water has a power of healing, right? If fire is that illumination and purification, water heals. I mean, we are made of water. So it's that amazing composure, really, to the different elements and how they both contribute to life in their own sacred, special way. Fire illuminates life. It purifies, it brings life that way. And water heals, it mends. Think about giving birth and the bath that you take afterwards, or bathing the baby. Think about when you get a cut, you run it under cold water, or when things get too heated with fire and you get a little burn, you run it under cold water. It provides the healing mechanism to counterbalance the light that comes from the fire. we also talked about the quickening of new life in the womb. Another translation of Imbolc means in the womb, or in the belly rather. So this is an interuterine fetal moment. And I think it's just so cool how there is so much symbolism and connection between life itself, birth, living, learning, growing, death, all of it. What we experience in that personified human version and form, it comes out in these Sabbats. And so this is the interuterine fetal movement. Like these are the kicks and the jabs that we feel before the baby comes out. This is the preparation for birth, right? Like think about a baby shower, or like that final like nesting moment that you hear mothers having before babies actually vacate their body. And think about this, livestock is born in the springtime to bring new life. I mean, spring is all about that new life. So they're getting ready. They're getting ready to be born so that they can live their sacred lives and do what they were meant to do outside of the womb. Right now, they're still within the womb, but it's the quickening. They're coming. It's coming. It's happening. And for many pregnant women, this is leading into the time of pregnancy where they're convinced that they're the one woman that's going to be pregnant forever, right? Because we're getting to the end, we want them to come. And so I just think it's a really cool reminder of like, not ready yet, not ready to be born yet, but we're doing the work still. We're making those final changes, those final growth moments. We're really like we're those final creation moments of features and limbs and all of that taking place intrauterine. And then finally, with that's gonna hold on. Okay, I'm gonna get you guys can't see this. I'm gonna get to you bullet point in a second because you're really pretty amazing. And then going to that final that third piece of the major associations with the lactation of ewes. Ewes only lactate when there are lambs to nurse. And so this represents, like I said, the presence of milk, cheese, and butter, and birth despite the stillness of winter. Birth despite the conditions that were cold and bringing us into our shelves. Birth because birth always comes. And birth, we can't have death without knowing that there is a rebirth coming. And it's that birth because, birth in spite, birth is just a part of it all. This is also a time, so Imbolc is also a great time for the initiation of the witch. This is a time where the initiation of the witch is enacted. So reflecting on nature and initiation and evolution of the magical path, right? Like, so this is new beginnings. This is the first light. This is the initiation of the witch into her power. And what is a witch, ladies? Right? Like we've talked about this. It's a powerful woman who knows how to connect to and work with nature. So this is as we look forward to spring coming, we take the dreams that we set into place at Yule, and we're ready to birth into our fullness, our wholeness, our trueness, in congruence with our magical powers, in congruence with the healer that resides within each and every single one of us, in congruence with our intuition. This is the birth of the witch. It's the birth of when the intuition meets the wisdom and we allow ourselves to embody. Right? This is the time to look deeper underneath the surface. This is a time of mental acuity, emotional stability, and psychic ability. I loved that. Mental acuity, emotional stability, and psychic ability. Bridget balances soul with inspiration and wisdom at this point. Isn't that, I mean, just those words. It's time to look deeper and under the surface. We planted the dreams. And now it's like, all right, we're still working underground. So let's get in under there. Let's excavate any fears that may be holding us back, because we got to grow. We got to grow from here. And the opposite of growing is dying. So we don't want to kill our dreams. We don't want to kill what we were here and meant to do before that seed even begins to sprout, right? That's like having an amazing idea and then saying, no, but I'm not good enough. I'm not knowledgeable enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. And squashing the idea before it can even burst through the soil. So this is the time of looking deeper at the things that have held you back in the past and asking yourself, do you still want to be held back like that? Is that still an option for you? Really, really big stuff. I love the depth of this Sabbath. And I love that the first Sabbath of the calendar year is one of depth. There's so much celebration in looking at what we can do with our physical hands, but knowing that we can only do it with our physical hands if down inside we are willing to do it and we allow ourselves to do it. So there's that. I mentioned Groundhog's Day earlier. This, what was this? It looks, hold on. Oh, the crone Caliac. I will get better at pronouncing these names, but oftentimes this is the first time I've said it out loud. So the crone goddess Caliac, Cailleach, looks for kindling. Back in ancient tradition, the crone Caliac looked for kindling to keep her winter fire burning. And so if it was a dry day, back in ancient tradition, she'd find the dry kindling to throw on the fire, which would be representative of no, winter's still going on. But if it was a damp day, representing thaw, representing getting closer and closer to spring, she wouldn't be able to find any kindling that was dry to throw on the fire. If she tried to throw wet kindling onto the fire, it would burn the fire out, meaning that we were getting ready for spring, which is exactly where the groundhog came from with if Punxsutawney Phil pokes his head out and the sun is out, he goes back into his hole. But if it's cloudy, he comes out and looks around. He's ready for springtime. So I just thought that was a really cool, like, oh, that's where the tradition began. It's cool. I love like geeking out on stuff like that. So words. And we're like, this is kind of where we get into like the fun stuff of like, what can we do here? What can we do to celebrate Imbolc? So initiation is obviously a huge component to this Sabbath. Bridget's cross, which is also known as a sun wheel, Bridget's eyes. These are all things that if you Google, you can actually make little crafts of. And also a grain dolly. They were called different things, but if you Google grain dolly, Bridget's eye, Bridget's cross, you'll be able to find, if you want to, cute little crafts that you can make. And new stones. New stones are representative of this time because the snow is melting away. We can find stones and you can actually make a stone circle in honor of Bridget, kind of representing the well in that. Let's see. Turning the crone back into the maiden once again this month. Oh, this was interesting too. So the month of February is dedicated to the goddess Februa, which means fresh start. Imbolc is dedicated to Venus and Diana. Diana and Bridget are one and the same, the goddess of love. So Valentine's Day, we've got fresh start with February, but Imbolc is actually dedicated to Venus, the planet, Diana and Bridget, and these are the goddesses representative of love. So this is where Valentine's Day comes from. You can make a candle wheel to carry or wear during this time of the year. Remember, it being a fire ceremony, candles are very, very popular in order to have that sympathetic magic calling in the sun. Coming to a crossroads night that spirits say. Oh, this is another crossroads night where it's a night that spirits are said to be walking among the living. So by lighting candles, we kind of light their paths. And during this time, again, back in ancient tradition, magical wells were visited. And so a lot of times they were visited with candlelight. Hello, baby. Are you coming for the rest of our of our training. Are you on a call? Oh, hi. Hold on, he's got a hair in his mouth. Hi, look at. Speaking of Nathan, hi, baby. All right. I know. Let me do this. Yeah, if I can have a pillow. Say hi, ladies. Hey, girls. Hi, True Tent. Thank you. Okay. Good. We're getting there. We're getting there anyway. This is the fun stuff. Okay. Look at this. You is still lactating. All right. Hi. How was your nap? Was it wonderful? Was it wonderful, baby? Okay. Awesome. So yes, I'm gonna end with you. So, food. We all want to talk about food. Victoria says hi. Food that is representative of Imbolc and is nice to be consumed during Imbolc is anything that's round. So like pancakes and waffles, those are great things to make. Milk, honey, and again, those are representative of the sweetness of life and the milk that is flowing during this time of the year. I have a little bit more. I've got a little bit more about Valentine's Day for you. So Lupercalia is the Roman holiday of Valentine's Day. And it actually began, it's the beginning of the wolves mating season. And wolves are one of my spirit animal, and I just love so much that has come up a few times today. It's the beginning. So Lupercalia is the beginning of the wolves mating season. Wolves mate for life. And so when wolves start mating, it's a sign of spring and eternal union of the goddess and the sun god. Like, is that amazing? I love it so much. Light energy. We gather around the fire. This is, again, it's still winter time. So back in ancient tradition, there would often be a fire in the middle of the house to keep it warm. And obviously the best thing to do when you are cold in the winter is to sit around the fire with your family and tell stories and tell traditions. This is a great time to see auras. This is a great time to bond with winter wildlife. So going out and checking out those tracks that are made in the snow as that snow slowly starts to disappear. So I just thought that was all super cool. Final tidbits, symbols, herbs, and altar items. I like ending on this because I think this is a cool way of like wrapping it up and giving you all something that you can actually like put your hands on and create with to celebrate the Sabbath. Symbols, I mentioned Bridget's cross, which is a fire wheel symbol of protection. Bridget doll, which is the same as that grain dolly that I had mentioned, and this is representative of fertility. Flame, it's a fire festival. Creativity, protection, sun goddess, purification, inspiration, all of that. The serpent, I didn't see this in show up in 2 out of the 3 books, but it was mentioned in Lisa Lister's Witch, and I love it so much. And it's about the rise from hibernation. This is creativity. This is Kundalini, right? So Kundalini is a form of meditation, but it's based on the energy that we feel going up our spinal cord, and that has always been representative of or represented by the serpent. And also, I'm going to note here, the serpent is also representative of the ley lines that are in the earth and hold a lot of the earth energy. They stir from their slumber during this time of the year. So it's that stirring component again. Herbs that are common in this time are blackberry, which is prosperity and healing. It's the goddess plant, and it's the goddess plant that is associated with Venus, again, pulling in Venus. Colt's foot is very, its herbal remedies surround emotion. There's a lot of emotional healing that colt's foot can do. And when you are feeling physically stagnant, this brings love and peace and allows for your body to start feeling nimble again. And then ginger awakens the fire within and aligns that Kundalini and serpent energy. I love ginger and blackberry, so I don't know what colt's foot is, but I'll find out. So I thought that was all really cool. Altar items, things that you can put out to celebrate and welcome in Imbolc and welcoming in that first light, is Bridget's cross, green candles, pen and paper. Remember that Bridget is the goddess of poetry. So having something there that if you feel the words come to you, you can start writing immediately, and you can get your ideas out of your head and down onto the page. Swan feathers, which I thought were super cool. Any representation of the maiden. Vision boards, right? This is the time where those dreams start to really take root. So what do you vision for this wheel of the year? And then white and blue flowers and crystals. So a lot of purity, a lot of purification, a lot of fire, a lot of water, a lot of maiden, a lot of dreams, a lot of bringing in what we've celebrated in different ways and honoring it through these traditions. And it's going to be really fun to do all this with you. I want to read to you, and if I think about it, I'll read it on Imbolc as well. But there's this beautiful poem in my little calendar journal. The Song of the Apple Tree at Imbolc. Okay. You can settle in if you want. Come be with me, and I will tell of Imbolc's precious gift, the spark of joy we so long for, that gives a life a lift. For winter has been long and hard, and frost still grips my limbs, but hope now comes this Imbolc day that wakes me from within. Oh, feel all natural stirring after winter's sleep, sweet new life emerging within the earth's womb deep. So celebrate with me, my friend, on this special day. The snowdrops sing their song of hope that spring is on its way. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So it's time to get creating. It's time to take the inspiration that has been growing within you and see where it takes you, see where it leads you. Knowing that you can't get this wrong, right? Like I had to show you, look at his little hands on my necklace. All right. So we will get to celebrate together in just less than 2 weeks, right? Yeah, less than 2 weeks, a week and a half. Yes, a week and a half. And I'm psyched. I'm psyched to be able to do that. It's going to be so fun. If you have any questions that came up and I don't know the answer, I'll find them. But this is also the time that, like, remember, Google all the things, like Pinterest. Go see what you can find out about Imbolc. It's fun to learn about these lesser known Sabbats, which we'll have a slew of coming up here because, I mean, we've talked about Samhain and Yule in previous videos, but now we're going to kind of get into brand new things. And again, it's putting words to the wisdom. That's what we're doing here. We're learning about these ancient traditions that it's cool to learn about them, but I want you to remember the moments that you're like, oh, I remember. Oh, yeah, I've felt that around this time of the year. I just think that's so sacred. So have a happy, beautiful day, my loves, and we will see you for our Imbolc celebration. And until then, let's continue doing whatever feels good to celebrate and call in the first light and really sinking into this time of the year. Love ya. Bye.